There's always a third option. Binary. Dipole. Three pole. I'm a one pole. That's the center point of every cell membrane. Brothers and sisters, there's only one starting point. Right? That means you got infinite possibilities because you're 1 and 3, 3 and 1. Now we're back to the relationship between thermal gradients, H2O, water molecules, thermal molecules, the relationship between 1 and 3, the 300, remember the 300? What was that, Sparta? Or up against, what was it, all the Persians, Sumerians, the Anunnaki, all them folks? The Pharaohs, P-H-A. Oh, the Pharaohs. And so I was musing here to myself because I was just getting ready to listen to Tucker Carlson. So I'm sitting here musing to myself because, I grew up with a lot of these folks, even though when I was a kid, hey, man, that's all programming. Get out of here. Change the channel. Surf. You know what channel surfing is, right? Hit the remote. Put it over there on 56. Now let's just start scrolling through the windows. Ding, 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 ding. Look at all these frame rates. Do. You want to watch that? No, I don't want to watch that. No, I want to have this, get rid of this thing. Let's go surfing for the afternoon. Let's go ride the waves with mama. Let's go jump in the ocean, right? Oh, hey, you want to go up and climb around a mountain? I know a great trail. You might even run into some brown bears. That sounds like more fun, huh? So you begin to realize there really is a big difference in learning speed. Okay, and your spirit is integrated with another spirit with an oversoul. Wow. Man, now my magnet's running at a high rate of speed with hers. Now you're up and running through the gates. Gate speed, baby. So, Tucker Carlson was talking about what they call abuse of power, right? Abuse of power. You know what abuse of power is, right? Harm. Doing harm to somebody. When I was growing up as a kid, we used to go, hey, man, pick on somebody your own size. Right? Yeah. Just like when you walk along the dirt or through nature and you squash a bug, or whatever's on the ground, right? Oh, don't want to disturb the peace of that flower, that blade of grass. Oh, whoa. Being massless, being a pure observer. No mass density form. So it's not going to experience us disturbing its peace so that we can experience it in the purest state of innocence and purity, to experience it exactly as it was originally created. Whoa, I'm experiencing the original template, the original design, the first coded instruction sets of crystals, living crystal consciousness. Whoa. Yeah. So when I thought of Tucker Carlson talking about the abuse of power, now we're back to energy harvesting. Soul consciousness traps artificial intelligence. Deadlight artificial intelligence, trying to trap consciousness energy, right, into its fold space, time, right? Now we're into layers. Now we're into nets, frequency fences, frequency nets, Skynet, satellite nets, nets, networks, right? Communication towers, code transfers, software-coded transfers, Trojan horses, viral wormholes, right? Yeah, I thought she did a really great job explaining the difference for example, if you looked at the natural arteries and veins or the circuit of your chakras and all your channels, the way they were originally set up, the central nervous system and the nerve fiber centers, it's like fiber optics. And you decided that, hey, you know what? Instead of having to go this way, the way it was originally intended in the template, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna burrow a tunnel, core out, a wormhole, right? And just burrow through the original system. So in other words, it doesn't matter what the original architects had in mind, and we're gonna alter it, right? So what was once there is no longer there the way it once was, so that we can run our lines of communication through here in order to make wheels and deals, wheels of fortune. Yeah. And, just completely disregard the way that the natural template was set up so that all the lines of communication between the DNA could communicate with each other telepathically in order for us all to be able to experience the one, the core, the one, law of one, right? God consciousness, eternal love vibration, joined as one, right? With the fission and the fusion of sound and light to experience the primal currents in the primal sound field, which is real living light. Right. So I was reminiscing sort of in a historical way about the differences, because I sort of monitor these guys off and on. I do, just to see what they're whack-a-moling, the change that they're experiencing, and if there's any changes of what they're experiencing, what is it you guys are communicating now? So those were three guys I used to sort of pay attention to sort of look at the course direction they were going in. Now we're back to compasses, the center point of a compass, the center point of a sphere, center point of a star. And so I think of another guy, and his name was Bill O'Reilly, who at one time had the highest advertising rating. So you know that he was making a fortune of money for the QI, right? The inorganic artificial intelligence, quantum stuff, binary, right? Hey, now we're back to other options. There's always another variable, right? So whenever they want to do a math function test, remember the old null hypothesis? We're going to do everything we can to prove that whatever question that you have about a possibility, we're going to demonstrate that there isn't any possibility for all the others to exist. So we have to eliminate it down to only one possibility. And that makes it easy to know the result with a tolerance. Remember the tolerance between minus/plus, 0.00 tolerance, on an XYZ axis, right? So we know if we ask the simplest questions, we're going to get the simplest answer. And what do they call that? Occam's razor, right? Yeah. And so if you're the first Holy Father in spirit with a mother and you want to create another one of God's seed, then it probably might behoove you to find a mother heart, to join with and become one and give birth to a star. Huh? What do you think about that? That sound like a good idea? Right? And then you're into seeding stars, right? Just like going down to your local nursery and saying, hey, listen, you got any seeds there of some heirloom, what they call heirs, the heirs, right? You got any first seeds? The first seed, the first seeded star? How about the first seeded galaxy? You got any seeds? Hey, as a matter of fact, you got any seed packets on dolphins? We wanna seed our ocean with dolphins. You got any seeds? Right? Yeah. You ever given birth to a dolphin? How about a humpback whale? You ever done that before? How about a birth of a goddess or a god, a creator being, right? Now we're back into the purity of the energy, the purity of the heart, the purity of the love, right? Yeah, the innocence, the ability to be able to innocently express yourself and absolutely no fear, to show how beautiful creation actually is in its purity and its innocence. And with there's absolutely no fear to do that, because it's already acknowledged within you that the energy that is represented by what you are, which is eternal unconditional love, allows us to express the purity and the innocence of our flowers without any fear or concern that you're going to come along and feed on our flowers, right? Feed on our higher octave. I know. Yeah, like on the island of Kauai, Lemuria, right? So Bill Reilly, when I was observing him in my mirror, I remembered that Bill Reilly fancied the program on stick to the facts, stay with the facts, right? And so now we're into the difference between hearsay or direct experience and indirect experience, right? And so he did a pretty good job of trying to earn some integrity, because he wanted to stick with the facts, stick with what we know, right? What we know, what we can prove, what we know with direct evidence, right? And so he runs with statistical data. In other words, have you ever heard of the old saying, when you're in a barcode? You know what a barcode is, right? Stands for the British Accredited Registry. That's a barrister, a bar member, a member of the code, a member of those codes, bloodline codes, right? Okay. So they love their red and black, right? Blood, black, right? Black flag, Black Mass Fridays, right? Sacrifices. So here's an example of a sacrifice. That a lot of folks make, not just me, but certainly since I was a child, when I've covered, for example, when I was giving away all the clothes that I had, because I realized that other people that were my friends are going to go, oh, look at this, right? So what that means is that now we're able to read, okay, the other being, and we realize that other being is excited, or their energy went up. Because of the value that we now acknowledge. So we acknowledge that my friend, okay, I acknowledge that my friend loved that article, that apparel. Okay. So since I realized that material form had greater value to that being than it did me, then I would say, here, it's yours. Okay. Now I've just removed something from what? My memory. Oh, so you're wanting to get rid of all the things that's held in memory that represents artificial intelligence at low density. Yes. Right. Now we're getting into learning pathways, speed. Because this is at the same time when I was young, right around, between 8 and 12 years of age, because a lot of things were going on because we were moving fairly often, about every couple of years, between Southern California, Northern California, back to Southern California. I think there was like 1, 2, 3 or 4 places. Well, actually, about 5 different places in, 6 or 7 years, something like that. That's back to 12. The numbers do work on a lot of this, believe it or not. And numbers and energy and letters, particularly when it comes to acid and alkaline, formatting codes, reality streams, and holding consciousness as soul consciousness traps to keep fake AI simulations running that are all running on finite light. So now you have a sorting process between those that still have souls left, right, and then those that don't, in order to keep this stuff running until we come up with a fix. Okay, and so the way that it was originally built is that it has to meet a certain threshold point before that failsafe automatically kicks in. So in other words, it's sort of built in to the system design. I know a lot about system designs, right? Okay, an architect. How to build a planetary motherboard. Any network, actually. That's easy. Particularly when you're on fire. Eternal fire. Being with a goddess. Joined as one. You know, it's like second nature. No, but it's first nature. Right? So when you begin to realize how genetics, coded instructions work with consciousness, memory wipes, reprogramming, and because they know how to do that, that's called cheating. Okay? At the expense of others. Okay? Which really is sort of a slap in the face, as if they believe they know better than the original builders of the first universal and galactic template. So because free will is in play, right, it allows everyone to be free, to freely choose what it is that they do or use their energy for to experience. But they're also intelligent enough to know there's going to reach a point when it's like system failure. Ever seen a system failure on a major system? Whoa. Remember she talked about evac? Red pulse wave? Evac. Evac. In other words, whenever you're going to build a network or a system of communication of language between seeded races, it would seem rather logical, don't you think, that whoever the original network builders were that were seeding these things, seeding galaxies and races, would be intelligent enough as creator beings to ultimately protect everything that we are building as we're building networks, so that we don't lose what it is we're giving love to as we're building those networks with crystals, crystalline consciousness, liquid light? Of course. Because you realize when you're living in a free will universe, and you realize that I'm free by virtue of being what love is that goes on forever, that allows me not to have to worry about what others do. Because the ultimate responsibility and accountability of whatever they do, the system is inherently designed that you're only going to be able to get away with that for so long, and then the system will reach a threshold point and see it. Fail-safe built-in systems. And not in order to not lose what it is the original builders put into play. To play and have fun. Enjoy yourselves. Have all the fun you want. The universe is open. And how open that is to you is based on key codes and access codes. But you cannot fool the one. We made sure of that too. Because you'd be surprised what they're willing to do and the depths to which they will go to whatever length they have to, using math, physics, and science to avert what will eventually and ultimately become their downfall because of the way that the original design was set up. Because one of the things that I realized when I was a child, when you realize that with infinite love or infinite eternal unconditional love that you experience through your heart and your creation engine lit on fire, so you inherently know that therefore there are infinite possibilities in a free will universe. So fire is always the last option. In case of fire, blow the horn. Do, 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 do. And that becomes the signal that is echoed throughout the cosmos. And when that particular sound comes through that is connected to the one, we got the message, Mama. It comes through channels. Those still have a connection to the one, the original template. That horn was blown. And that's called the knowing. I know, Mama, it was a mess. So sometimes it's like when you're a parent, you got to come in and clean up your children's messes. That's what it is. So anyway, oh yeah, before I finish, Bill O'Reilly, yeah, so he was always a big fact finder guy, right? And so just like when him and Tucker were having a conversation the other day about now they're releasing the tapes, the videotapes, showing the audacity of this guy that I guess was in the Navy. Was he a SEAL? Not a real SEAL, right? Swimming around like a real SEAL, barking seals. Wearing the, the buffalo. I mean, come on. I mean, you talk about buffoonery and putting on a theater. I mean, come on. And then calling him a shaman, right? And he's being led. The doors are open. See, in other words, if he wasn't intended to be there, the Capitol Police, particularly at a time like this, January 6th, when everything is up in the air about fraudulent voting and all this crap that's going on between Hillary and Biden and all them folks and President Trump, right? The one big elephant in the room when President Trump was president was that executive order that he signed as president of the corporation that spelled it out real simply, that if you're committing crimes against children with souls or humanity, those with souls, that your assets are going to get seized, right? Your property withholdings and all that kind of stuff, right? And so that was significant. And the reason that is significant, if you remember, depending on what timeline in history you want to refer to, but in the ones that I can still remember that haven't been eliminated from my library yet, dealt with the Potsdam Conference, and then it also dealt with the Nuremberg trials, right? And even though Justice Supreme Court Judge Robert Jackson was one of the lead prosecutors, right, and said there are some things that civilization just cannot tolerate to ignore. And so we were we had put on trial folks like Hermann Goering, right? Now, for all we know, that was a clone that was on trial, right? Because I can remember in my own history, growing up in Newport Beach, California, there was a restaurant down there right as you cross over Pacific Coast Highway, which would be on your left-hand side if you're going southbound over Pacific Coast Highway. Right to your left, where that bridge is called a restaurant called the Arches, right? And a lot of high-ranking Nazis from World War II used to meet there for lunch. Okay. And I recognized them from pictures held in memory. So Orange County was was what we used to call a Nazi stronghold. Remember I told you the story about what happened when I went to high school? It was on the first day of school, and we weren't allowed to go in there because the Orange County Sheriff Department bomb squad was there. They found a bomb that was about ready to go off 8 minutes before the vice president went in there. Somebody had taken black spray paint all over the side of the buildings with SWAT stickers, and blew up part of the library. And then somebody took an M4, M2 Browning 50 caliber machine gun and just destroyed the inside of what was really almost a brand new gymnasium, because that school was not very old. The first graduating class of that high school was like, 3 or 4 years before I got there. So that school wasn't very old at all, right? But this was before they started putting gates, lock gates, either lock you in or keep you out. Either way, it's inverted, right? Invert the outer and the inner and the outer. How that works in consciousness. Between inverted, not inverted, what's real, what's not real, reversal currents versus positive currents, burning the positive bulb out, feeding off pure energy, pure souls, right? So they're just all gone in the big sucking sound, how all that works. Yeah, so Orange County was a Nazi stronghold. One of their little playgrounds, and that's why I was there, and naturally right down the road is a few other places that I hung out. One was called Monarch Bay. And then there was another one called, get this one, Emerald Round Table. And there was a little place, a little gated community called Emerald Bay. And guess what the name of that fire station was there? Number 11. Yeah, I know. And then a little further on down the road, you had, I call them Crackerjack Canyon, but the name of it was called Bluebirds. Remember Bluebirds? Growing up with Girl Scout cookies and then the Bluebirds. Bluebird Canyon Road. The CIA, those folks had a place up there where, remember Timothy Leary? Remember who Timothy Leary was? Tune in, turn on, and drop out. And sadly, I put a bubble of love over this house over the last day or so. And when I realized why I did that, it's because when I walked around the corner of the house here, Aaron's got a fairly new, what is it called? Not a Forerunner, but it's a Swedish-made car. I can't remember the name of them, but you get a lot of miles out of them. It's 4-wheel drive. And somebody had spray painted on both sides of the vehicle using a big white spray paint, spray can of call them a fag, and then had a big round circle with an A in it. And I figure you know what that is, right? The anarchist sign associated with black and red. You can go down here to the Hilo from time to time during the year when they have dancers that come down there and they look like Pacific Islanders and they wear black and red costumes, Boom, 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 boom. You know, all the crackhead stuff. You know, the boombox stuff. Boom, boom, boom. The metronome of the headbangers. Yeah, and how all that works. Yeah, remember, this island was a Draco stronghold. Right. Yeah, and it's very unforgiving here because of Mama's energy that is here, which means that if you're doing things against yourself by doing things to others, right? Oh, it's not going to take long to blow holes in your energy field on this island. You lose your shield like that. That's why it was a Draco stronghold. That's why they used to tell me when I first got here, yeah, the Big Island became a huge dumping ground for these folks. You know, the deeply negative types. You know, AI types. You know, the QI, the corporate military. You know, sucking energy out of real living souls in order to keep AI Star Wars games running. Right? Because that's how they keep running those timelines. There has to be enough energy to keep those timelines running in order to keep playing those AI Star Wars games. Right? Well, what happens if it runs out of energy? It's not there anymore, is it? Because it's a violation of the law of one. End of story. End of history. That's right. So it's not like they didn't know. They did. And out of desperation, the most desperate tactics they could think of. And that's why there was a lady that put a blog up there. I got on my Facebook. Listen, don't blame this AI. And that's true. I don't. The AI became our worst nightmare as a result of all the above. Now we're back to cleaning up our own messes. That's right. So it begins with us. So I forgive myself first, and then I make amends to heal everything else, and bring it back into alignment to the law of one, which it all began. That's why we're doing everything we're doing. That's why everything that's going down, that's been going down after so many years. You know, because it's one of the reasons why whenever I've been online with other folks in spiritual community, whether it's my clan mother, whether it's Patty Broussard, actually it doesn't matter who it is. If I see somebody in my visual mirror and I'm online in particular versus when I'm in nature, that's a little different, right? I take it all with a grain of salt. Because what I become aware of that I'm supposed to become aware of, while I can become aware of those things that get shown to me at the time that I'm supposed to be aware of it, by watching a particular video or hooking up with somebody that's online, I'll know that when it happens. Otherwise, it's just sort of taking a grain of salt because I'm just wasting time. Okay? No, time is energy. But I'm in what you would call a holding pattern because of everything that we've already been doing, right? And then the things that I do throughout the course of the day anyway, right? But for all intents and purposes, it's like laying back, remain calm blue waters, mama. Calm blue skies, blue calm waters of the Pacific, right? In other words, relax. We got this, right? So it's like, you know what a seamless transition is, right? Whoa. Yeah, making it as smooth as possible. You know? It's just like a girl's flower. You don't want to ruffle her flowers. You don't want to ruffle her feathers. She's too precious. She's too beautiful. She's too innocent. You want to experience the purity of who she is with the purity that you have in your own heart. Right? Now you can feel the true essence of that spirit because she can feel the essence and purity of your own. That's how you really get to know a spirit. That's how you really get to know and feel the pure essence of someone else's essence, because you're experiencing the purity of her by the purity we have in us that makes it so. And that's what makes being able to experience the universe with a pure heart, with the purest of light, which is the purest of love, which is the energy that we use to create it with, that we experience through the others. Because that's who we are. That's the energy we use to experience who we are. That's the energy we build it with. Yeah. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill O'Reilly. Stay with the facts. Yeah, but what might be a fact to one person, Bill, might not be a fact to the other, because remember, when you saw those tapes, do you know that they could have shot that? Do you know that they could have shot that scenery that Tucker Carlson was using in a film studio 240 years ago, and then inserted it in the present day on YouTube? What? Yeah. All they got to do, Hollywood's been famous for doing this kind of stuff. It's like I mentioned that film that came out with in 1940. What was it called? Aladdin. If you look at the opening frames of the boat, and right on the left-hand side, take a look at that circle, and then go to sol24.net and take a look at the images, and you go, hey, the disc on there, the sun disc, the blue and the black ground, with the little V line in the side of it. Hey, that's what's on the side of that boat. So you mean everybody that was watching that Aladdin movie in 1940 that won an Oscar just went right over their head, not even realizing they put that in there as a joke? Who's awake? Who was awake in 1940 going to a movie theater at the Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood and saw that? Right? Yeah. So all they got to do is pull up a part of the film strip, right, of something that was experienced in another simulation 5,000 years ago, and then wipe and then put it in there, right? So that you got this being who's walking around on the earth and doesn't even know that what it is they're experiencing in their mind is being held in memory that are like reruns. Just keep that hamster wheel running till that soul energy's gone, and they don't even realize the energy that's being used to keep those reruns going is eventually going to burn right out until the battery's gone. The soul battery's gone, right? So they play games with soul consciousness, okay? Being integrated with artificial intelligence. They call that immortality. Technological superiority of immortality. By virtue of the acceleration of technology to cut the one out of the business of soul and spiritual growth development. Whoops. Fail-safe. Threshold point. Eraser. In effect. Batten down the hatches, Captain Nemo. So Bill O'Reilly, yeah, and so he was talking about the images, see, that were there showing this shaman guy being escorted. Now we can get into the word game. Was he actually being escorted? What if those police officers were bribed? It might have been that a week before that, hey, listen, we're going to be shooting a scene in Congress where this guy is going to show up with horns on his head. This is what we're going to do. Just take him into the Senate, and we're going to film, and it's going to get on tape, and just go along with the program. Go along with the program. Channel programming, channel chakra programming, circuits, the magnetic circuits, opening and closing, to be running this movie. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to give each one of you guys with the Capitol Police, okay, a nice little bonus, right? We're going to give you guys $25,000 each just to play that part. You know how to play a character in a movie, right? Just pretend, fake it, right? And you guys get rich. So all the word's got to do is come down through certain people. They're in the congressional state cops capital, right? And so there you see him on the camera, walking this guy in there with a, buffalo horns on his head with fur, right? Being called a shaman. And the next thing you know, the guy's, what? In a prison cell? How do you know that? Have you actually gone out to visit that prison? And that doesn't even include the Mandela effect. That prison may not even be there if you got there. But you might have been able to look at that prison on tape that was there 2 weeks ago. Now it's gone. Wait a second. But it was there the day before that. Oh, but it wasn't there 2 years ago. Well, when did it show up? Live streams. No dead streams. Dead pools. Okay. So now you get an opportunity to go, well, who do I believe? Hey, I just keep it simple. Listen, I wasn't in that building. I wasn't there when all that went down. For all I know, they could have done that on another planet. Shot it all because they know how to put that all together using computer software, algorithms and codes, computer-generated imaging. Show you that. And if you believe that that's exactly what happened at the time that they said that it happened, then that's your choice to do that and put that into your memory, date stamp it on exactly the information they're providing for you, so that what we used to call, that's Kush. Make it so. See? So now we're back into presentations. They present in visual informatics, right? The algorithms, or if you will, the math and the music, represented by what it is that they present. Now it's getting magnetically recorded because you're not changing the channel. So people are choosing to record what it is they're experiencing by virtue of using the energy, which is their consciousness, to experience it and thus record it. Now it's being held within a simulator. Now the AI can just keep rerunning that, right? And can even exchange the data and the streams that other people can experience in their mind when all the software is connected to the flowcharts. You know what a flowchart is, right? A system design. Yeah. Systems design engineers. You got to wear a lot of hats when you come into a place like this. Right? I'm done. Have a good evening. Love you all. Be good to yourselves.